Hey guys, welcome back. Now, as you'll notice, there hasn't been a video for over 10 days, and as you'll know from the title, this is because I got COVID and got it pretty bad. It actually ended up being a lot worse than I thought it was going to be, and this included a hospitalization as well. So for anyone interested, I'll be sharing my full COVID experience, what I used to treat it, and hopefully now that I've got antibodies, it's not something that I'm gonna have to go through again. Now, when it comes to where did it come from, I think this is from my baby daughter, 7 months old. And as anyone with children will know, their hygiene really isn't that good. In fact, if you go to these play centers, imagine all 20 adults sitting around in a row and you're all sharing different items, and you'll pick these items up, you'll put it in your mouth, give it a lick, brown, and everyone does the same. So this is pretty much what it's like at a baby center. So it really doesn't surprise me that bugs, germs, everything gets passed around. It all started day 0 and my baby daughter had a runny nose, and for a couple of days she had a runny nose. We really didn't think that much of it. Now, day 1 for me started with just a very slight scratchy throat. You know, when you can kind of feel a cold coming on, just a little bit in the throat, but it wasn't too bad. Day 2, and I definitely was starting to get a cold, and the cold symptoms started to come on, started to get more of a scratchy throat, starting to get a bunged up nose, and at this point I just thought I'd caught a cold. Day 3, and now it had turned into a bad cold, and I do pretty much get quite bad colds, otherwise known as man flu. So now, totally bunged up, nose is running, sneezing, but again, I'm thinking it's just a bad cold. And I even said to my wife, I think it's just a cold because when it's the flu, it affects the full body, but right now, it's all just behind my head. Now, day 4, and it had turned into the flu. Now, my entire body was aching. I have had the flu a couple of times before, and the feeling always makes me think this is what it feels like when you're going to die. Everything's aching, your body feels like it's about 90 years old. And as the cold had come out and affected my whole body, I now knew I had flu and should probably test for COVID. So we did a COVID test, and although it was very slight little line came up, this is classed as positive. Now, day 5 and day 6. Now, after a couple of days in bed with the flu, it then took a turn for the worst, and I got something which I'd never had before, which is some serious dizzy spells. In fact, when I just tried to turn over or turn around or sit up, the whole world would be rushing by to the point of complete nausea and just wanting to be sick. And these were the worst 2 days. Literally couldn't really eat any food, was just completely bedbound for a couple of days. And there is no worse feeling than nausea. Anyway, from there, it then actually started to get better each day. The dizziness had gone, and I can pretty much handle anything apart from that. But then my daughter took a turn for the worst. My wife then started to get sick, and the next 2 days was in damage control looking after them. My wife took a really bad turn and ended up having to go to hospital, being put on a drip where she was given saline and paracetamol, and she was also getting chest pain as well, so she was given antibiotics and steroids, but luckily was only in hospital overnight and came home the next day. And from there, it was just 2 days of helping my family get through this, trying to keep my daughter's temperature down, constantly giving Calpol, and then helping my wife, trying to get her temperature down, helping with the meds, doing all the cooking and the cleaning. And then luckily my daughter turned around the first, The fever and the temperature got under control and she came back to normal. And as it stands right now, I think my wife is over the worst and we're back on the mend. As far as medication, I was just taking a great supplement called Redoxon, which is a blend of vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc, as well as some vitamin D shots. But the number one life-saving drug, which without it, we definitely would have had a different experience. It's the thing that made it all manageable, and that was paracetamol. I really cannot express just how useful and valuable just paracetamol was. So that was my full COVID experience. Happy to say that I am now over the worst of it and will have the antibodies. Family is now doing much better and we appear to be out of the woods and look forward to getting back to making some proper videos. So that was my experience. Hope you found it useful. I think when it comes to how bad you get COVID, it probably really depends on what variant you get, as there's probably now about 10 different variants out there, and this ranges from just having a headache to a bit of a cold to the flu. And obviously, I think we got a pretty bad version. Okay, so videos will be starting again soon, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye for now.